Hello and welcome to the Run Testers. My name's Nick and this is our first run review of the Asics Megablast. So the Megablast is one of two new shoes that Asics has just introduced to its range along with the Sonic Blast. Both of them use a new foam called FF Turbo Squared, which Asics is calling the most resilient and energy returning foam in its range. They're both pretty expensive shoes. The Megablast is $225, so even more expensive than the Superblast. I don't have the UK price confirmed yet, but if I get it before I put this video live, we can stick it at the bottom of the screen. It's a very lightweight shoe at 241 grams or 8.5 ounces, given how high a stack height you have here. It's 46mm at the heel and 38mm at the forefoot for an 8mm drop. So it's got an even higher stack height than something like the Asics Superblast, whilst having a weight comparable to shoes like the Puma Velocity Nitro 4. And it's not much heavier than something like even the Adidas Evo SL. So could be looking at a very versatile and impressive all-round trainer. That's what we're hoping to see. You're going to pay a fair bit for it, and how it stacks up against a Superblast, which is already a very impressive high-stack plate-free shoe with a big price tag, will be very interesting. When it comes to the actual design of the Asics Megablast, you've got an engineered woven upper with quite a lot of padding around the back of the shoe, given that it is quite lightweight. You're getting a fair bit of foam there to cradle the Achilles, not too much on the tongue. And then you have got an internal heel counter here as well, quite a stiff one in fact, to try and help with support and stability at the back of what is a high stack shoe. Then you have a full FF Turbo Squared midsole. This is a new aliphatic TPU foam from Asics that promises to be lighter and bouncier than FF Turbo. Don't know how it compares to FF Turbo Plus and FF Leap, the other new foams that Asics has had in its range over the past couple of years, but it's very much a resilient foam rather than one that I would expect to be very soft and squishy underfoot. It's got a fairly firm feel to it, so it should give a lot of energy return without necessarily feeling very plushly soft underfoot. Then you've got an Asics grip outsole with fairly minimal coverage. It's quite thick, the layers of rubber you do have, but you can see they just run along the sides of the shoe at the back here. It's a fair bit on the forefoot, but you've got quite a lot of exposed foam here, which helps obviously keep the weight down, but you do have quite a thick layer of rubber in what should be all the key impact areas on the Megablast. When it comes to fit of the Asics Megablast, I've got my normal size here, which is a UK 9, US 10. That's the size I use across the Asics range, and I've got a good fit with it. I would say when comparing its fit to other Asics shoes, it's more like the Metaspeed racing shoes, which are a little bit more dialed in than the Easy Day shoes. Things like the Nimbus or the Nova Blast give you a bit more room around the toes in the same size, so the Megablast is a bit more dialed in. If you're sometimes a little bit in between sizes of Asics, that might be something to bear in mind. I feel it's been very comfortable for me on the runs I've done in the shoe. Good hold around the heel and midfoot. It's pretty lightweight and unfussy upper, but there is a bit of padding there to add some comfort for daily training, and I've had a good secure hold for running at a range of speeds in the shoe. So I've actually done a couple of runs in the Asics Megablast. For this video, I did an easy run in the shoe yesterday and then an easy steady run today. So yesterday was nice and relaxed, and today I moved through the gears to around kind of 3:35 a K pace by the end of the run. Shoe I was really excited to test. I love these kind of lightweight super trainers that have great foams in the midsole, but don't need a plate, and in general are kept quite simple. This is a bit different to the ones I've loved so far. Things like the Adidas Evo SL and the Puma Velocity Nitro 4 even, and the Hoka Mag 6, because it's a lot more expensive for one and a much higher stack shoe, and actually has quite a different ride feel as well. It is quite similar to the Superblast in that it took me aback a bit actually that it is fairly firm when you first step into the shoe. You see a big mega stack of a super foam like this and you think it's going to be really squishy and bouncy, but no, the responsive energy returning ride comes from the fact you've got quite a firm base here, quite a resilient base that you push against and get a lot of energy back. You're not really sinking into this shoe much at all. And actually on the easy run it felt a little bit blocky to me at first. It has actually eased off a little bit now, even after just a couple of runs, because I think this is a fairly dense foam which provides a lot of that punch, which also should mean it's pretty durable, I would say, but it also meant it did feel a little bit blocky on that first run at easy paces, and similar in a way that the Superblast does. The Superblast is very light, very impressive, very a lot of energy return, but feels like quite a big shoe. It isn't very flexible. This isn't very flexible either. It's a stiff shoe as well, but the more you run in it, the more you realise how effective it is, and that definitely was the case today on the run with some faster sections. The Megablast really came to life when I started to go through the gears, and you really felt the punch from that foam, and by the end I was clipping along very nicely at low HR for that kind of pace. It's a run I do all the time in all different kinds of shoes, and the Megablast definitely was notable. My heart rate was lower for the pace I was putting out, and the effort level I felt like I was putting in compared to standard daily trainers, and it's similar to something like a super trainer with a plate in it. And this feels like a souped up daily trainer, and so I have really enjoyed it for those couple of runs. It feels like it will be very versatile, but it's not a ride that I fell in love with instantly, like I did with something like the Adidas Evo SL, because that's such a nippy, nimble, narrow little ride with, really springy foam, and that's not what you get so much from the Megablast. It's a pretty big shoe. It feels pretty big on the foot, but it turns over fast, and you get, a really nice amount of punch from it. Obviously very comfortable with a big stack like this, and I do think it's going to be incredibly versatile as well. So like I say, it does feel very similar to the Superblast. I mean, that is going to be interesting how Adidas proceeds with the lines from now on. I think the Superblast will probably use the new FF Leap foam that's in the Metaspeed series when they come out with the next version of that, which might create a softer feel to that shoe. But yeah, the way Asics has gone about this kind of minimalist super trainer, although it does still have a mega stack, it's not minimalist at all really in any way, is slightly different to other brands, and it has produced what I think is going to be a very good shoe here in the Megablast. But the high price and the slightly less nimble and agile design than you get from some others was notable on the run, and I'll be interested to see how that foam starts to feel over the long term during testing, because this feels like a shoe that, like I say, should retain that level of bounce a lot, but it'll be interesting if it does ease up a little bit, compared to how it feels at first, because it's a slight surprise when you step into the shoe. It's a bit firmer than you expect. It's not uncomfortable, but yeah, you might think you're going to get a squidgier ride underfoot, but no, what you get is a very direct and fast ride, and maybe that lessens the enjoyment of the shoe at easy paces, just because similar to the Superblast, it's quite stiff and it is a little bit more geared up for fast stuff than you might expect. So, early verdict on the Asics Megablast. I think this is a really good shoe. It's not a shoe that you're necessarily going to fall in love with in the same way I have with the Adidas Evo SL, but it certainly feels like it's going to be a very effective running shoe, work at a really wide range of paces, be durable, be fast, be solid enough on easy runs, and yeah, I am very much looking forward to running in it more and more, because I do think it's going to have a really good ride at a range of paces. It's also, I think, pretty stable for such a big shoe with a big stack of foam in it in the midsole. Like, that's one knock on something like the Adidas Evo SL, is the fact it isn't the most stable shoe here. I think you are getting like a daily trainer-esque platform with the Megablast in the way it is quite supportive. It doesn't feel too wobbly. You can run in this anywhere, but then that foam transforms it into something a bit beyond the average daily trainer because of the level of response and energy return you get it, and the fact it is going to be so comfortable at speed. It's expensive though, for sure, and that price tag, immediately puts question marks around it when there are such excellent shoes available, at a lot less, like especially things like the Evo SL, like I said, Velocity Nitro, even the Asics Novablast. Like, it's not as high performance as this shoe, but you are going to get a really solid daily trainer there for a lot less. So it'll be interesting to see if it can live up to that price tag. Obviously, it's even more expensive than the Superblast as well, and I do think there's quite a lot of similarities there. It's got some of, a lot of the same benefits in being a very big, cushioned, comfortable shoe that's still surprisingly lightweight and very versatile and good at fast speeds, but also some of the same drawbacks of the Superblast, in that it is a big shoe and it doesn't feel the most nimble on the foot. It can feel a bit blocky coming off the heel compared to other lightweight like trainers like this. I would say, having done these runs in the shoe and used the Superblast, that there is part of me that does yearn for the idea of Asics using one of these super foams in a much more low profile shoe, like a shoe that doesn't have to be very low profile, could have a stack height around 38mm or something like that, and doesn't necessarily have this big blocky heel design they use in a lot of the shoes, and they go for a much more nimble, lightweight feel, something like the Evo SL, because this foam is incredibly light. This is a mega stack shoe, and it's still coming in at 240 grams. If they reduced the stack to something that's still very high, like 38, and the shoe was down nearer 200 grams, in my size, that would be really interesting to me, especially as this foam is quite dense and returns a lot of energy. I don't necessarily think you need such a huge stack height here to unlock the bounce from it, so I do think there's an opening there, although Asics certainly has enough shoes right now. I think it's fair to say with these two joining the lineup, things are all getting quite confusing with the Sonic Blast and the Magic Speed. I'm not sure what's going to go on there. I'm going to start testing the Sonic Blast probably tomorrow and see if that takes over the Magic Speed spot in the range. It's interesting to see how much the Megablast overlaps with the Superblast as well. Like, it does feel like quite a similar experience to me, and the kind of shoe you'd use for a similar purpose, so maybe the Superblast will get a pretty big change itself in the coming months. It's all very interesting, and it's interesting because they're all good shoes. They're all fun shoes to run in, and the Megablast is certainly a really good shoe. One I'm looking forward to using a lot, going on holiday this weekend, and this feels like exactly the kind of shoe I would take on holiday. It's pretty comfortable to walk around in. I quite like this jazzy design. My daughter absolutely loves this design, so that's good. And it feels like it's going to be great for any kind of run, which is obviously something I'll be testing out for the full review. So that will come in time. We'll probably get some thoughts up on the Sonic Blast this week as well. And it's a great time to be testing out running shoes. The Megablast is another really good running shoe, but it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out in terms of my experience with the shoe going forward, and how the Asics lineup shapes up going forward as well. That's our first thoughts on the Asics Megablast. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, ring the little bell, and we'll see you next time.